million score. WCOOP 2009, what a
Over
year.
2.2 million for first, that's
The
insane.
taxi driver who satellited in takes home $1 million. Crown-up guy is the world
This kid is
champion.
one to watch.
Sean Deeb consistently crushing WCOOP.
What a lineup.
Adrenaline 710, 5 titles in one series. And it's PT Fisherman who reels in the main event trophy.
2021, the year of Talal.
WCOOP is still the title every online player wants to win.
This is where world champions are made.
Welcome once again to the PokerStars Arena and the 2022 World Championship of Online Poker. It is Wednesday, the 7th of September, and tonight we are streaming the final table of the 10K Super Tuesday High Roller. 64 entries, 7 players remain, and NASA114 João Vieira is chasing his 7th WCOOP title. Will play down to a champion tonight. Hello everyone, I'm James Hartigan, alongside me Joe Stapleton.
Hello, my babies.
And just to be clear, Joe, this is not a 6-max or 7-max event. A $10,000 buy-in, high roller, with 64 entries, 7 got paid, so they actually played into the money last night. Samuel Woosden, European, who we watched in action last night, bubbled in 8th place. Now 7 players return. Should we get to the action?
Let's do it. I like my poker like I like my massages. 7-handed. What?
And we see Nazar in action here against Dmitry Yurasov, representing Belarus.
Myasov.
And Yurasov folds to Nazar's bet. And João Vieira increases his chip lead. Now, CPU ruler is not Ola Shemian. Wizzo is Ola Shemian. I appreciate the avatar can be confusing. Nino Ullman, an Austrian player, clearly a big Shemian fan, has him as his avatar, has moved all in from the button here with Queen Jack. Dmitry Yurasov's got Ace Jack, Joe.
Yeah, let's get the color about Nino out of the way.
Rotation, and that is going to be a double up for Nino Ullman. Well, I'll tell you what, Joe, there are 2 things we need to do. We need to introduce our analyst for this evening, and at the same time, we need to highlight someone who is an integral part of the EPT Barcelona team. The broadcast would not have been possible without him. I am, of course, talking about our producer, Chris Cohen, and Griffin Bender is our analyst this evening. Hello, Griffin, how are you? Griffin.
Griffin, I think you might have yourself muted. He gone. That couldn't have worked out any better. I wish that had been planned.
Dmitry Yurasov has got Ace-5 suited.
Yeah, let's fix that.
Suited. Artisanal.
Hello, ooh.
Yeah.
Hello, Toddy with the cold 4. Gets it through. James, I was thinking this earlier. I tend to not say things like this because I don't like being wrong any more than I usually am, but feels like this might not be the longest final table ever.
Yeah, I mean, we're 7-handed rather than 9-handed, 64 entries, so not a huge number of chips in play. That being said, 30-minute blind levels. If you run the numbers, there's probably 4.5 hours of play in this, potentially. But, again, Joe, player dynamic. These guys we know play aggressively. They don't hang about. They don't mess about. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of pace is adopted and whether we have one of these players, maybe NASA, for example, build up a monster chip lead and steamroll the final table. By the way, let's highlight some of the other talent we've got in the lineup here. We've already mentioned Dmitry Yurosov. We've got the legend that is Lena 900, Nicholas Ashtet, a player who already has 3 WCOOP titles. Kelvin Kerber, that of course is a Brazilian player who won the BSOP main event back in 2016 and then won his first WCOOP title a year later. Andrzej, someone who we commentate on a lot. Andrei Novak from Ukraine. And yeah, I see why you said hurry up. Not a great spot for Andrzej. The diamond draw for Yurosov. I mean, Queen's still the best hand, but so many outs for Yurosov.
It's not a great spot for either player, 55 to 44.
Yeah.
It is both equally a great spot and not a great spot.
Okay, well, Queens and Kings, the hand for Andrzej, and currently a 70% favorite. And Queens hold.
Queens hold, but will they get bluffed? No, they will not.
But Queens go for value here and potentially get called by ace high.
All these good players, they know when to get thin value.
275,000.
I think that I'd probably be criticized for calling this thin even based on the way the action's gone.
Yeah, and I wouldn't blame Yurosov for making the call here. Kings, nines, ace kicker. Thinking about it, using some time bank.
I feel like a lot of the bluffs or hands that ace high is like chopping with might have bet before this, but
Folds.
and yeah, Yurosov feels the same way.
We'll see Andrei Novak move over the million mark. Now, Joe, I'm a great believer in the old adage, if at first you don't succeed, give up. But I have been told we are paying Griffin Bender a fee, and we have to get our money's worth. So here he is, and hopefully we can hear him this time.
Yes, I also hope that. Is my voice live?
You are live
hey,
to the world, Griffin, and it is great to have you with us.
I'm sure it was just Joe sabotaging me. Won't give me my due in Barcelona, and now finds a way to mute me to start my first stream back.
Oh, I feel so terrible.
As much as I would like to blame Joe for the latter thing, I don't think he had anything to do with it. We keep Joe away from the technical stuff, Griffin. You should know that by now. Welcome to WCOOP 2022, and what a great final table for your first stream.
Yes, thank you. Very exciting, and just love to see NASA in action. I'm a big fan of his work and you know what he's accomplished. So no surprise to see him leading the charge here on this big final table.
Old NASA.
Opening here with Jack 9 and an all-in from...
Ooh, sourdough suited. Which is artisanal.
And now we see Nicholas Astat, Lena 900, opening with ace king of clubs.
Quick shout out to Asifo, who's in chat, says he bubbled the 2-seat phase for this, otherwise he'd be at the final table.
Yeah, that's how it works.
Top 3 stack for sure, mate.
Ace king again for Lena 900 and king queen suited for Dmitry Yurosov.
Yeah, a bit of an unfortunate spot here for Yurosov. King Queen suited, the kind of hand that you can be comfortable calling an all in some situations for, something like 15 to 17 big blinds. But in this situation, and as we see Hello Toddy taking this spot, not the first time on this final table we've seen Toddy make a big play with a suited mid hand, and might just be committed to call this off and would love to see ace king. About 40% of the chips in there. You'd hate to be up against something like two kings, but the odds are there to be up against with live cards.
Absolutely. If you're getting 40% and you've already committed 175,000.
Well,
you're going to need that horseshoe. You're going to need some luck because you are an underdog, but it's Lena who's at risk here. Looking okay. There is that 10 to worry about, but nope. The best hand holds, and Nicholas Aztet is still in contention for his 4th WCOOP. A reminder, João Vieira, NASA114, now playing from the UK, is going for his 7th. NASA won 2 WCOOP trophies last year in a 7 max freeze-out and a 4 max PKO. And now looking to win.
He hasn't even won one yet this year?
We're only on day 4. Give the guy a chance, Joe.
And you can see how quickly the fortunes can change on this final table. We started with CPU Ruler and Lena, I believe, as the bottom stacks, but after 2 big double ups, Lena all the way up to 3rd place and CPU Ruler right in there.
Yeah. Stacks have evened out slightly. Average right now is 900,000, 30 big blinds. We've got 30 minutes still to run on the 15-30 blind level.
Is it terrible that I would have snapped it off with ace deuce there, Griffin?
It's just a bit too many chips. Normally, when you have an ace blind on blind, you're happy to call off if it's sort of shove stacks. But once you get into that sort of 17, 18 plus range, and you have the worst ace like that, even if you are ahead, which you are against hands like Queen Jack and King Jack, the hand doesn't play particularly well. You can be dominated by small pairs or something like ace 5. So I really like that fold. I think a lot of players, might have really considered it, but I think CPU Ruler probably understands at that spot it's not profitable to call off with ace deuce.
Hello Totti opening here with kings. Hello Totti playing from Mexico has $8.6 million in PokerStars earnings. Won a blowout series event in 2021, has a 3rd place finish in WCOOP, but no WCOOP title yet.
Good fold there from Ruler. It's so tempting. You have 10 jacks suited, but you're so dominated by the early position open range there, and not a lot of chips to work with. Set at kings there for Toddy.
Yeah, but a horrible board for 3s, and Unjay understandably folding to the continuation bet. Action now on Unjay in the small blind with king 10, raises to 75k. My mistake, by the way. Blinds will go to 1530 in 11 minutes' time. They are currently 12,500, 25,000. King Jack versus Ace 4, and we have got a hell of a draw for Urasov, but a pair of aces currently the best hand.
How's that not a street flash draw? What's going on?
It's close, but no cigar.
Urasov pretty incentivized here to barrel off in this spot. Going to be up against a lot of weak sort of ace queen X kind of hands, but actually elects to take the free card, and maybe it's just because Toddy is a player that might be pretty prepared to call down, not fold a lot of ace X hands. We saw the bravery of the Jack 10 suited cold 4-bet shove early on in the FT, so that's not really the kind of player I think that's going to be making folds with an ace on a board like this.
Now, Griffin, when you say FT, can you break that down for the viewers who maybe aren't as familiar with the high-level strat talk?
Yes, so FT is final table.
Wow. That's why we pay him the big bucks, ladies and gentlemen. Question from Homie asking how many entries did this tournament have? I mean, it's on the top of the screen. 64 total entries, 7 players remaining. Should highlight that that was 44 unique players and 20 re-entries. And as we established at the start of the broadcast, 7 got paid. It was European who bubbled. And interestingly, European was in for 3 bullets, so in for 30k. Even if Samuel Woosden had scraped a min cash, he still would not have profited. The only players remaining in for more than 1 buy-in are Lena 900 and NASA, both on their 2nd bullet. So they are in for 20k, but with a min cash worth 28,000, they're in the money. But you don't play poker tournaments to min cash. These guys would very much be playing for the win.
I do.
10k players
this
don't.
Is big trouble for NASA 114. This hand really just going to play itself, and we're going to see a big showdown.
There is a cliche, Griffin, that whenever you have kings, there is always an ace on the desk, and no one else has folded an ace. So here we go. CPU ruler at risk, but ahead. Still ahead. And home. Gets the double up. NASA down to 1.16 million. Still has the chip lead, but is not as dominant as before. And now raising with the Spraggy. Ace-7 offsuit. Takes the blinds.
I mean, that's a major change in the dynamic, though, right? Like, the shoving of NASA into CPU, that's gone, right?
This is very big trouble for Urasov here. Had this played as just a button open, you know, might have probably still gotten it in against Kelvin, but now, you know, facing that raise, you kind of just need to go all in with the 22 bigs, and you're running into the absolute blades behind in Calvin's aces.
Here we go. Urasov does hit a jack on the flop, but does not improve on the turn or river. So that is our first elimination of this final table. Dmitry Urasov busts in 7th and cashes for $28,287. I was just about to do our international tour of the table, and we lost a player. So just to clarify, Urasov was representing Belarus. We've got CPU Ruler playing from Austria. Andrzej is Ukrainian, Lena 900 is Swedish, Hello Totti plays from Mexico, and NASA 114, João Vieira, now represents the United Kingdom. Can we see another win for the UK tonight? Jack 10 suited, opens to 50k.
You know, I kind of wish that my brand was like attached to my biceps, so it would really incentivize me to work out more. You know, you can't just slack. You can't take any days off. You certainly can't take arm day off.
I mean, no offense to NASA, who's a player I respect and admire very much and is a hell of a nice guy, but it doesn't look like he puts all that much work into those biceps.
I will say he makes a great deal of effort to cover the biceps with his shirt.
Right.
Pocket fours still the best hand right now. The gut shot for Nino Ullman, the CPU ruler.
Yeah, this might seem like a bit of an unorthodox bet from Kelvin, but I think the intention is to kind of give yourself more options as you play down to the street. Sometimes you can just get some check folds from certain hands here, maybe 10-8 suited open and can fold, or, you know, ace-6 of, you know, clubs. So you make that bet. You can also get some value from hands like ace-queen that might call with ace-high, but CPU ruler makes a really cool check raise and really freezes Kelvin and takes down the pot.
Well, Kelvin Kerber opening here with queens. And Nicholas Aztet decides to 3-bet from the small blind, making it 175k with Queen 9 of spades.
And it looks like we're going to have a new chip leader.
It's going to be the Brazilian,
Kelvin
isn't it?
when he folds.
Yeah, I guess Calvin was already the chip leader, barely. More significant chip leader.
Yes, pretty much tied for first at the start of this hand with João Vieira, but we'll put some distance between them.
Oh wow! Look at this! Look at this price.
I know.
Yeah,
Very
really
clicky.
wanting to keep in hands exactly like the one Lena has, but Lena's too wise for it.
What a price!
Lena opening on the button with Jack 9, CPU ruler, Ace 5 offsuit in the big.
Really nice little 3-bet there. You know, you hate to sort of 3-bet fold there, and you certainly don't really feel comfortable shoving. I think some players might shove the sourdough there, but instead it doesn't really want to play that post and takes it down.
Nom 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 nom.
The Snowmen's dominated by 10s.
Ooh.
And Lena
Snowman's
900
cold
gets
deck.
it in bad.
One out.
And that will see the elimination of Lena 900. Nicholas Aztet busts in 6th place, cashing for $39,252. And now there is a new chip leader again. Hello Totty is in the catbird seat.
Hello, Toddy.
Yeah, that was for a pretty significant amount of chips. You know, it was over 25 big blinds, but you're just expecting to kind of take it down a lot there. You are technically one of the bottom stacks, but it just really sucks when that happens, I gotta say.
Yeah. And here we are down to 5 players already. Nazar with top pair, betting 42.5 into 128.
Yeah, and Kelvin might play this as a check raise. You know, you have flopped equity. You're going to fold out a lot of hands when you do play this as a check raise. You have more chips. Does play it as just the call, though. And good for them. I mean, would have been trouble with that king-queen.
Nazar now better than a 9-1 favourite, goes for 137,500. And sits in 3rd place. But the stacks all pretty even. Every player remaining has a 7-figure stack now, Griffin.
Yeah, the blinds will be going up in a few minutes, though, to 30,000, which should make the average stack, you know, around 35 big blinds.
Well, 2-pair for Andrei Novak. Bets 50k on the flop. Not much for Hello Totty. 2 overs to the board.
Yeah, you know, you'd probably float something like King Jack or King Queen, so I think that's why Toddy's thinking, oh, you know, I have some interaction with that 8.
Yeah.
I can, you know, backdoor a straight draw here, but wisely lets it go.
Blinds will be up very soon as Kelvin opens with King 8 of hearts. We've got João Vieira sitting in the small blind with King Queen of diamonds.
Domination, machination.
We have got a multi-WCOOP winning player watching the stream this evening. Hello to Senkel92, Tobias Lackness, who says, Pieface Poker is telling everyone there will be an 8-game stream later during this series. Is he going mental? He speaks the truth, Tobias. We are going to be streaming the final table of the World Championship of 8 game.
Both things can be true, by the way. We can be streaming 8 game, and he can be going mental, which we all know Pie-Face Poker has been on the cusp for a while.
I should have said the two things are not mutually exclusive.
You know, it was actually a pretty big week for Pie-Face Poker in Barcelona as far as my recognition of him. I wasn't too familiar with him, but he won that 8 game event, and he got a shout out for all his commentary work.
I think you'll find it was horse, but I get the point you're trying to make, Griffin. I get it. We have reached the end of the first session. That means the players are going to take a break, and Griffin will also get to take 5. It's time for Joe and I to get an update from our WCOOP correspondent. It is day 4 of the World Championship of Online Poker. A lot has happened already. And as we can only stream selected tournaments, it's very hard for us to keep track of all the winners. Luckily, the PokerStars blog does the work for us, and there's one man in particular who's very good at gathering data and summarizing the biggest stories. And here he is. He's got the looks, he's got the brains, he's Howard Swains. So Howard, last night we talked about big names bagging trophies in the first few days of the series, and this is a theme that continues tonight.
It most certainly does, yeah. And the biggest name of all that we need to talk about first up is Benny Glaser. PokerStars players know him as Run Godlike, and Glaser last night won the 5th WCOOP title of his career in the 2K Horse. So it earned him 33K. That will not be the biggest score of this WCOOP, but it's just another indicator of how brilliant he is as a mixed game player. Glaser has won a WCOOP title every year now since 2018. So that's 5 years in a row. He's won in PLO, RAS, he's won another 2K Horse, an NL08 event before, and he just keeps getting better. And then if you don't forget, he's also won 7 Scoop titles. So it's just crazy what he can do. He wasn't the only big name winner last night, because we also had in the medium horse event, the $215 buy-in, Kirill Radzinova now, pronounced terribly, obviously there, but better known as Angry Moron. We've seen him at a couple of EPT main event final tables. And Robin Ilitalo, Robinho, the Swedish former EPT London champion, he won a WCOOP title last night. That's actually his first, and it was in a 109 PKO, and he won $35,000.
Now I have to highlight how, in no small part to Benny's success, the UK is currently tied with Brazil at the top of the country's leaderboard. We know this isn't going to last for long, so let's celebrate it while it's happening.
Yeah, a lot of the Brazilians are otherwise occupied, but yeah, let's celebrate, because Ronan Sweeney also won last night too. So Benny won 1 and Ronan Sweeney won the 5-card PLO. So the Brits got 2 titles last night. That was Sweeney's 3rd career WCOOP title, and yeah, it puts Britain at top of the country's leaderboard, tied with Brazil right now.
All right, first of all, borders are just made up unless you're talking about the USA, in which case they're very serious. Secondly, speaking of UK players, I noticed Patrick Leonard's name has not been brought up amongst the winners, or has it, and I just missed it?
No, you're right. It has not. It has not.
Okay, then what is he doing at the top of the leaderboard?
Well, because that's where he belongs. No, we've said it many times before. What Pads does, and probably better than absolutely anybody in the game, is put in the volume. He's been playing tons, and he's been runner-up in 2 events already. Benny actually beat him in the 2K Horse last night, and he's had a handful of other cashes already. So Patrick Leonard, Pads, he's the early leader in that player of the series race. He's got a 5-point lead at the moment, which is not very much, obviously, but he knows all about winning these leaderboards, so expect to see him challenging throughout this series.
All right, nerd. Nerd me with some nerd letters. That's what I call numbers.
Okay, 54 tournaments completed, 109,000 entries, more than 11 million in prize money, more than 1.8 million paid to winners, 9 tournaments ongoing, and 13 more starting today.
Well, Howard, we're next due to talk to you on Monday, and by then, we'll have presented another World Championship trophy?
2 actually. So we've got the World Championship of Horse has just started, and tomorrow night it's the Badugi. So 2 more World Champions next time we'll speak.
Okay, we're going to have replays of those final tables, and of course next week we will be streaming the World Championship of Six Max, the World Championship of PLO 8, and the World Championship of Heads Up No Limit Hold'em. So 3 exciting streams planned for next week, and Howard, you will join us on all 3 of those broadcasts, and we will speak to you then.
Yep, speak to you soon. Bye-bye.
As we track through the WCOOP Hall of Fame back to the final table of the 10K Super Tuesday High Roller. Joe's going to take a break. Griffin Bencher is still with me. James Hartigan analysing the action from this now 5-handed final table, where we could have another big name win a WCOOP title. None bigger than NASA 114, João Vieira, looking to win his 7th WCOOP and extend the UK's lead at the top of the country's leaderboard. That's right, João Vieira, Adrian Mateos, 2 of the best UK players out there, Griffin.
Yeah, absolutely. I just got to say, you know, I have a bit of a confession to make. I saw Howard Swains on one of the first days when I arrived in Barcelona having a little cafe outside the hotel. And it was like seeing a celebrity, you know. I had never really seen him in person before, and I didn't know what to say. So I didn't say anything at all. I just walked right by. And, you know, he's what a guy, Howard Swains.
Howard and I go back a long way. I mean, I've worked with Joe now for more than a decade, but I first worked with Howard in 2005. I've known him for 17 years.
Oh, well, then maybe you can introduce me next time and make it transition easier for
absolutely. Me. I don't want you to know, Griffin, I wouldn't have forgotten you. I might have intentionally snubbed you, but I would never have forgotten you.
Set to start things off in that first hand, but nothing from Anže with that deuce 6. Gonna have a pretty fair fight going to this flop, though. 9-6 of spades.
Now that the stacks have evened out, Griffin, and now that everyone is relatively deep, all pretty much playing average stack, 40 big blinds, is that going to slow things down, especially when you look at the difference in the payouts from 5th through 4th, 3rd, 2nd, and 1st?
I don't know necessarily about that, but what it does mean is that you and I can do a draft right now. So let's just say we'll only pick 4 since there are 5 left. You can have the first pick, then I get the next 2, and then you get the last one. Go ahead. Who do you think's gonna win? You pick the first one. Joe,
okay,
we'll let Joe have the 5th guy.
Okay, well, I mean, at the start of the day, my money was on NASA, so that's where I'm sticking with. I'm sticking with NASA. Old NASA.
Okay. I get the next 2. I'll take Toddy, and I'll take Kelvin.
Okay. I will take Andrei Novak. I will take Anže.
Okay, so CPU ruler is Joe's.
I like the way this game works. We can do this more often.
Go Toddy! Right away. 4 bits in, the pair gets it through.
Well, this is a blind v blind situation, and with ace-9 suited, NASA ain't going to take this one lying down.
No, but no real reason to get out of line with a 3-bet. Even if you think oftentimes you're going to have the best hand pre-flop, you don't want to 3-bet and be faced with a shove here. And you're going to be a little disguised here with this pretty strong ace. Has flopped worse, though. A lot of interesting turn cards, like spades or straight jaw cards for NASA, just like that. But the diamond...
It gets very interesting, and Totti is better than a 4-1 favorite on the turn.
Yeah, not much reason for NASA to really bet here. You know, you're going to fold out some better aces sometimes, but like ace-queen, but even ace-10 is going to be check calling and does get there on the river. Very fortuitous turn of events for NASA.
I tell you what, no one likes that flaming Barry more than old NASA.
Yeah, and Toddy has a pretty weak bluff catcher here. NASA is going to have some aces just calling pre-flop. I think Toddy's going to be very aware of that. Going to be hard to find a lot of bluffs that would call a 3.5x pre-flop. could have something like King 4 or King 5 suited would certainly call that raise pre-flop. Maybe that's the kind of hand you would think Naza might bluff in this spot, try to fold out a hand like a bottom or mid pair, represent that ace. Naza is ultimately repping pretty thin. And really, this hand is just Griffin against James, let's be honest. I mean, I want Toddy to fold, you want him to call.
Just for funsies, Griffin, we have no other interest in the outcome of this. We need to be as objective as one can be.
You're right, yes. Throwing the wrinkle in.
I mean, look, the reality is, when you get to the final five in a 10K buy-in, they're all going to be pretty talented players. They're all going to be accomplished players, and there aren't many weak spots, shall we say. And this, right now, with the stacks the way they are, could go in anyone's direction. And we see CPU ruler flop a pair of 10s, bottom pair for Unjay.
Yeah, not the best flop here for ace deuce because there's so much, interaction with a jack 10 suited board. Not always from a big blind call range, but often enough. You do have that pair, which is nice. You can turn a very disguised trips. You shouldn't have a lot of deuces raising out of the gun. This is going to be a hard card to barrel and try to fold out pretty much any hand. So, yeah, Anjay wisely checks and effectively rescinds the pot.
Check, check. And CPU ruler will win that pot. Is up over 1.2 million. The average stack being 1.28 million right now. And still 20 plus minutes on the 15-30 blind level before we go to the blind level that shouldn't exist. 17,500, 35,000.
Of all the pull you have at PokerStars, James, you just can't get rid of that level. Docket number 1 every meeting. Let it go, James.
Yeah, of the battles I have to fight on a daily basis, that one is not on my list.
Kelvin, top dog here. Top 2 dog.
Yeah,
K9.
and not a lot for Anjay, who will fold to that raise. Well, we've mentioned Barcelona a few times, Griffin. Obviously, that's where we last worked together. That's where I last saw you. Interestingly, Andrei Novak played that record-breaking EPT Barcelona main event and scraped into the money, min-cashed that event.
Good for him.
Old NASA with top pair here. King Queen folds and deuces. Also fold, and Nazar has just reclaimed the chip lead. Again, we'll highlight that everyone's pretty close together right now, and that chip lead is likely to change a fair few times in the course of 4 or 5 orbits.
This is the fun thing about short-handed poker is the ranges get much wider, more interesting hands being opened. We saw the King 6 suited raise under the gun there from CPU. And if you're a fan of poker and, want to improve your game, this is, a really great opportunity watching this short-handed play.
Well, good to have Optimus Clang with us 100%, watching on Twitch, or rather was listening, was building a bed, so was utilizing this as a radio show, but the bed is now assembled. So Optimus Clang can now watch the stream as well as listen. Good to have you with us. Good to have all of your attention. Ace Queen is ahead right now. Decent drawing hand for Anjay. Does not improve on the turn.
Yeah, now Kelvin wants to decide, you know, does he want to play this aggressively or just check back and, you know, decide whether to use this as a bluff catcher. You know, you are beating all those 7-8, 6-8 type combos, all those heart draws that have missed, you know, but a 9 can comfortably value bet here. Even a 5 might be able to comfortably go for some value. But, you know, it's a bit too much more likely you have draws, and Kelvin probably would have correctly made a call, so elects to just give it up.
Magro says, I hope in the next stream there'll be a stream of lower stakes. It would also be interesting. Don't disagree with you, Magro. I would highlight that during one of the major online series, we do tend to focus on the bigger buy-in events, especially the World Championships that we have on the schedule for WCOOP 2022. Now, we were actually going to stream the 109 Sunday Million yesterday, but it ended up being a 2-day event rather than a 3-day event, so it concluded on the Monday. So unfortunately, you're probably going to have to wait till after WCOOP, but remember, every Monday night, you do get the 109 Sunday Million Day 2. So we do regularly stream smaller stakes events on this channel.
Very fortuitous flop here for CPU Ruler. Not such a good turn, though. Looks like we're going to have to maybe prepare our singing voices, potentially. You can see the percentages there. If we don't see a queen or an ace on the river.
Well, if this goes check, check, and it does, you're going to get your way, Griffin. This is a chop pot, and you know what they say. Everyone loves
the chop pot.
Oh.
I was late. Out of practice. Sorry, everyone. Just getting the cobwebs out, you know.
So, taking the delay out of the equation, Griffin, there is a note here from John Delano, who offers 6 out of 10 and says Griffin hammed it up.
Well, what does that mean? I always do the hands.
Not
how was I
hammed it?
What does hammed mean?
It means that maybe you kind of took it to 11, whereas maybe you should have been at around a 9.
Okay.
I mean, I would rather.
I never thought I'd. Yeah.
I'd rather you go too far than too little, because obviously we do get some underwhelming performances from some other commentators. But, you know.
I never thought I'd say this, James, but John Delano, you're banned.
You don't have the power to do
John.
that.
No, no one can ban John. It's in all our contracts. Big pot actually just happened there after the fallout from the near banning of John Delano and the 4 out of 10 chop pot. Big pot for Hello Toddy with that ace jack.
Yeah. And it is Totti who currently has the advantage, 1.8 million. But as far as in this hand, it's Nazar with the advantage. Queens in the small blind.
Yeah, and Kelvin with a very strong 5-handed cutoff hand. Don't be surprised if we see some post-flop action here. No real reason for Kelvin to get crazy and put any 4-bets or shoves in. But playing 40 big blinds, going to have some bluff hands. Let's see if we see a flop. You know, this is probably one of the worst hands you would call to this 3-bet. King Jack off, you would fold. So it's really right on the line as strong as it is. But also a chance we could see a fold. You know, you want to protect that second in chips situation.
Yes.
Don't want to go up against all these dominated hands. So a real consideration here for Kelvin. It's right, we're real close.
And Kelvin giving this some deep thought. 1 minute left on Kelvin's time bank.
Kelvin!
Referenced earlier on that Kelvin is a BSOP main event winner, a former WCOOP winner, won a
Nice fold.
5-card PLO event in 2017. Did indeed fold. And Nazar with another pair of tens. A quick shout out and thank you to Spooky for giving me a gift subscription to the PokerStars Twitch channel. You would think I would be auto-subscribed, wouldn't you? But no. So I appreciate it, Spooky. I can now use the emote of my own face. Oh.
I don't think...
Oh.
Oh, no.
Jacks versus Queens, Griffin.
Looks like one of James's men might be going.
Yeah, Anjay finds himself in a domination situation.
Hey, you're going to need that time bank, Kelvin. Come on.
I know you want to make it look good, Kelvin, but... Reshoves. Hello Totty folds King Jack and Anjay. Huge underdog here. Way behind. But spikes a 2-outer on the river.
One outer, James. One outer.
Oh,
King Jack.
of course, King Jack was folded.
Oh.
The one outer saves Andrei Novak, who doubles up to 1.16 million.
Doesn't seem right. There's always a chance, James.
Oh, I'm sorry, Kelvin. Isildur says, slow roll, punish. Not a slow roll. I understand what Kelvin was doing there. And also, I guess deciding also whether to just flat or whether to reshove. But anyway.
Well said.
Andre back in contention. And this is top pair versus second pair.
Yeah, and kind of some sneaky strength ×2 here. This was just limped and checked back rather quickly from Naza. Toddy now betting, hoping to get, you know, that value from those 10x hands, exactly what Naza has. But Naza has a way out of this at 20%. We have seen a jack come on the river before, but not this time.
So, Kanzaki's just posted a comment that could be interpreted several ways. I guess there are two key interpretations. Kanzaki observing, this is poker. That's right. But if I read it like this is poker. Takes on a whole new meaning. The drama,
God,
the excitement, the tension. Is Naza going to make this call and lose another 90K?
I mean, this is a really interesting pot, and, you know, you see Naza call and you think, why did Naza call with third pair there? Well, that was a very under-repped hand from Toddy, just limping in pre, you know, really repping only an ace or a queen, kind of hard cards to have. And Toddy very wisely makes that value bet and all the way up to 2 million, you know, near double of any of the opponents.
Again, we're blind v blind. King 5 versus 10-9, and it's a pair of nines for CPU Ruler. So Nino Ullman has $2.2 million in PokerStars earnings, $1.3 million in live earnings, and did win a WCOOP last year. Took down a 2K No Limit Hold'em event for just shy of 80K.
Yeah, Naza making a little pro bet on the Queen 9-7. You know, wanting to fold out hands that can make pairs and give yourself some options on future streets. Maybe barrel on a 10 or a jack to fold out a 7 or 9, but with the 6 on the turn, not much else lets it go.
Jamie Luna watching on YouTube asks, was there a deal? No. Highly unusual to have 5-way deals negotiated in these tournaments, but also very unusual to see any deal negotiated in a high roller event like this.
Yeah, you know, big accomplishments from all the players, and sometimes even bigger egos.
Not impossible, just improbable. And we do have a King-King-3 board here, which means Jack High's the best hand.
Yeah, but advantage Toddy as the under the gun aggressor here. Very difficult to continue with something like Jack 9 high. I'm doing the fold sound. You hear that, James?
Oh, that's what you were doing.
Mm-hmm.
I thought you were like trying to bury a sneeze or something.
Oh! That's the chips being raised.
Yeah, we can hear the sound effects that the software makes.
Oh,
Griffin,
the call and the 9 of spades. Toddy wisely calls, expecting Calvin to not have it, and then Calvin just turns the pair, which gives Toddy the flush draw. Oh my goodness, James.
Yeah, I guess Toddy has the plan here, but it has been complicated by Kelvin now connecting with this board and leads for 75,000. Toddy still with that flush draw.
Yeah, and hard for Toddy to do anything but call here and hope for that rivered spade. And that's actually a great card for Toddy because, you know, facing a check here is going to probably think that Calvin may have turned a 9. I mean, we look at the action, right? A king would probably just bet or shove for value here. But that 9, you know, if you turn a 9 there on the turn, you would bet something super small to try to get the showdown. And you can't check down here with 5 high, or you wouldn't be, you know, willing to float the flop. You kind of have to make a move. And Calvin's going to have a real decision. Do I put my opponent on just ace high on the flop and now turns that into a bluff? And there's the big bet. Wow.
And it's most of Kelvin's stack, 405,000. Kelvin with 577,000. Does have the best hand, but obviously doesn't know that.
Wow.
And folds it.
Beautifully done.
And that will see Hello Totty move over the 2 million mark. And now we do have a runaway chip leader with better than a 2-to-1 lead, or near enough a 2-to-1 lead on the second biggest stack, which is CPU Ruler.
Nice opportunity to get a shove through here, I think, with these 18 big blinds for Kelvin. Just got to hope the 3 opponents remaining don't wake up with better. You are the bottom stack now, so you want to try to acquire, but instead makes the fold. I think that's definitely on the tighter side, but just maybe not feeling that great about the spot.
9-6 of diamonds defends, and it's an ace-ace-8 flop with 2 hearts. Continuation bet gets the job done for Andrei Novak. Nazza in the small blind with king 3. Completes. And CPU ruler gets to see a free flop and flops top pair. Bottom pair for Nazza.
Yeah, nice spot to start getting some value. Going to get a lot of check calls from worse here. Those 3x, 5x type hands. You know, hands like straight draws, queen 4, and the like. But those check calls do also include some 6s, so you are a little wary of this turn card, but you might still want to, you know, just bet to be able to check back the river. And that's exactly what we see from Ruler. You know, sometimes you're still going to get called by, let's say, an 8-5 of spades or something.
JLax 1, any plans for things like Shark Tank to come back? You need to ask the network, the broadcasters. Is it NBC in the States that broadcast Shark Tank? If anyone's got a line to Mark Cuban or Kevin Leary, maybe you can ask them.
Oh, you know what, James? I think that they're actually asking about Shark Cage. Yes, we have discussed a third winners-only season. So we're just trying to get that off the ground. But if that's something any of you want to see, please, you know, email PokerStars and we'll try to get that thing off the ground.
As far as Shark Cage is concerned, and I'm going to give you the answer I always give, I'm never going to say never, but there are no immediate plans to do a third season. And whether we would allow former Shark Cage champions to compete would need to be discussed if and when it becomes an eventuality. We did have a rule.
Did you guys lose the
second
cage,
season,
James?
for the second season, we did have a rule that anyone who made the final table of season 1 would not be invited back for season 2. But maybe enough time has passed that we give those players another shot.
Put me in, coach. I won't let you down this time. Straight jar for Kelvin. Not seeing aggression from Anjay. And, you know, when you float this flop, you kind of have to be willing to start bluffing. You're really at the bottom of your range. Anjay absolutely crushing with that 90 to 9%, 91 to 9% deficit. And correctly makes the call. And now Kelvin's in real trouble here. How do you represent, you know, you certainly can't represent the ace. So do you just really try to say you have 5-6 here? That you have Jack 4, you know, 9-10? I mean, it's nice your opponent has exactly what they have here, but you don't know they have 10-7. They can just have Jack 9 and goes for the big barrel and might just be up against the perfect hand to get this through. Because, you know, when Calvin has 6-3 here, just as often then would have 6-5. There's not a lot of missed straight draws here.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of 6-5, 8-7s, you know, Jack 4. So, nice bluff. And we're just seeing some really pretty little bluffs here, 5-handed. And if you're feeling like you're playing poker a lot and maybe you're not bluffing enough, pay attention to this stuff. You know, the way that these players break down ranges and make really calculated, big, nice bluffs. You might learn something.
Ed says, give Mike Tyndall another chance. Yeah, I think we'd certainly allow anyone who is a finalist in Season 1 and maybe even a finalist in Season 2 to come back. It's about whether former champions could be eligible to win another $1 million of PokerStars money. And I'd have to leave that decision with someone else, Griffin. I'm not going to make the argument for or against.
You've been using all your clout to get rid of the 35,000 level. You got nothing
And look
left
where
for
that
the
got me. It's still there. It's going to happen in less than a minute's time.
Yeah. If you guys notice
yes,
a
Tom.
frown for the next half an hour from James, it's because he doesn't like this level.
And Tom's right. Just to be clear, this is a hypothetical conversation because there's nothing in the works right now. Tom's 100% right. We are not talking about a third season of Shark Cage.
But I mean, well, but that's what we're doing, James. We're talking about it right now.
Yeah,
We're
hypothetically.
nailing
Griffin,
down
we're
the
talking about it.
details. Listen, everybody's chatting about it in the chat. It's, it's getting in the ether. It's going to be trending on Twitter. It's like one of those things where it's like, some TV show that just got canceled within the last few years starts trending on Twitter and everyone thinks it's coming back. And then that turns into a campaign. Suddenly there's banners being flown across PokerStars headquarters,
Well, this
Bring back
is
Shark Cage Season 3 in brackets and Griffin.
This is an interesting
I'll knock it
dynamic
out.
here. We've got the button open from Hello Totty with Ace King. NASA in the small blind with Ace Jack.
Yeah, this is trouble because this is 30 big blind territory. Might just see a shove sort of situation. You don't want to be 3-bet folding this. Toddy's going to be raising so wide. Can you 3-bet fold?
Well, it is a 3-bet to 210,000. It does kind of look like NASA is pretty committed to this pot. And there is the 4-bet from Hello Totty. And now it's definitely all in or fold time for NASA at 114. And João Vieira has to decide whether to go with this. This small blind, big blind small blind button dynamic makes it so interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, could NASA have found a fold for 37-ish bigs small blind on button against the most aggressive player on the table? Probably not, but there's a lot of ICM considerations here. Busting in 5th for 54,000 when first is 200. This kind of gives him a way in more than out, I think, because of this perceived fold equity. But I don't know. It looks super strong.
And NASA using that time bank to make a decision. And that decision is whether to go with Ace Jack or fold it and wait for a better opportunity. Moves all in, gets called, a domination situation, and there's a Jack on the flop. The rotation has occurred, and that is going to see João Vieira double up through Hello Totty. Well played, lol, says Totty, as NASA takes the chip lead and now gets dealt aces.
Yeah, and Toddy, bit sort of interesting use of etiquette there. Obviously very frustrated with the result.
Sorry, Griffin. So when Totty says well played, are you saying that Totty didn't mean that?
I can't speak for Toddy, but, when someone writes LOL afterwards,
Right. I will not have anything said against NASA, one of the United Kingdom's finest online players.
See, that's why you pick NASA. It's just it's a patriotic thing. Wow.
Who knocks 27 says he's not from the UK. So why has he got the Union Jack flag against his name? Who knocks 27?
First of all, I am the one who knocks.
I am the danger.
Ooh,
CPU ruler.
I still have to watch Better Call Saul. I am really enjoying all the people that... what was so meta about you joking about NASA being from the UK? Is that we just explained what sarcasm is to the collective viewers, and then people still thought you were serious.
I mean, obviously we know NASA is Portuguese. We know he then relocated to the Netherlands. We know he's now relocated to the UK. But
there we go.
Nonetheless, if João Vieira wins this, as far as the official statistics are concerned, because this account is registered to the UK, this would count as a UK victory. That's just how it works. So Anjay, the second shortest stack. Kelvin is the shorty right now with fewer than 20 big blinds.
Yeah, and I was looking at this King 8 under the gun and thinking, how wide is Naza prepared to open with this big chip lead? And I think this is a good indication of how wide. You know, probably not as wide as King 7, King 6, but, you know, with all these chips, with the right situation, going to be playing really wide. Speaking of King 8,
Yeah,
and
makes
I
it
have a feeling
210,000. You can't fold Queen Jack suited on the button.
no
I
chance.
mean, you can, but
No, it's just whether this is going to play as a shove or a call from Toddy. We saw how Toddy was willing to shove in the Jack 10 suited as a cold 4-bet in a situation. So, you know, if he thinks pretty advantageous board here for CPU ruler, most of the Ace X type hands would play as, I think, folds or shoves from Toddy. You know, something like a suited ace, you know, something like Ace 8, Ace 9 off would probably just fold pre, so ruler can just bet there and take it down. And now 3 stacks, floating just around 20 big blinds.
yes,
Could be seeing some eliminations soon.
dynamic has definitely changed after an extended period of time where everyone was pretty even and around average. Neza, after that lucky double up, has reclaimed the chip lead. Now it's CPU Ruler's turn to have aces.
Another spot for Kelvin to potentially find a shove with a small pair, but we saw the 5s folded, caught off to button. So again, we just see the 3s folded. Both of those spots would have gotten through and acquired some chips, but you know, not every time do you just get folds. Weird spot with the 21 big blinds and ace 3. Do you want to just shove this in and hope Naza doesn't wake up? Do you want to just limp? Play it as a shove.
Ace King for the shortest stack, Kelvin Kerber. The Brazilian opening to 70,000. Button raise and a steal from Naza. We have been 5-handed for some time now. We lost Nicholas Astat, Lena 900, just before the first break. That was the better part of an hour ago. Oh, we've got 5s, we've got 6s, we've got jacks.
Yeah, and this could be real trouble for Anjay if he decides to shove these 20 big blinds on the button because Kelvin is waking up at the jacks. So, you know, we've kept talking about these big folds Kelvin's been making with these small pairs in exact situations like this that Anjay has with the 6s. And this is the problem that can arise making those shoves is that people will wake up with big hands.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what's happening to Anjay here.
Jack on the flop seals the deal, and Anjay is left with just 5K as Kelvin Kerber doubles up to 1.5 million, and Anjay gets it in, was committed for the ante, 739 chips left behind. And it's going to be going 4-way to the flop likely.
Yeah, unless Naza finds a raise to 250,000. This doesn't look particularly strong by Kelvin, and that's, I think, why we see a little pause from Naza.
Oh,
Doesn't even need to
Naza
make it
does
that big.
decide to isolate, and of course there's significant chips in the side pot. And here we go. A 3 on the flop. And that will do it for Andrei Novak. Eliminated in 5th place and cashing out for nearly $54,500, taking us down to the final 4. Naza with the chip lead. 8-9 in the small blind. CPU ruler, aces in the big.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if Ruler has any reason to keep it small here. You know, you want to beef up the pot here and get all those check calls in there. This is going to be not quite good enough to continue from Naza.
Num 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 num.
Snowman's for Kelvin
See how I did on the
Kerber.
num-num.
King
Ooh, not a bad
6
num-num.
on the button for Naza. Goes to the flop, and 8's still good.
Can I get some scores out of 10 for my num-nums, please? And I will accept. And 8s or 10s for me.
You got a 10 there from Sultan
No, but that's
5.
that's the second best I can get. 8 is the best score. That's how it works. It goes 8, 10, 9, 7.
Well, 8's still good.
Ooh, but it can be fun to bet here.
Yeah.
You know, when you're up against those 5 and 2 type hands, but problem is Kelvin's not going to have a lot of 2x kind of hands unless it's ace deuce. So, yeah, I don't blame Naza for not trying, because you're not going to get a 10 to fold. All those ace x floats have now turned an ace. So, but wow, Naza has a nice bluff sort of card interaction with that king of diamonds, but difficult to represent because you would never have checked 2 diamonds on the turn with a king.
Straighty, flushy board. 3 overs to the 8s. Naza does check it back though, and Kelvin chips up to 1.6 million. Average stack is 1.6 with 4 players remaining. And Naza opening with the Spraggy. Ace-7 offsuit. Ace-9 for CPU ruler.
Yeah, CPU has been respecting the chip lead of Naza for some time now. We saw the fold with ace-7 in the small blind to a button open, but I think ace-9 is going to be a bit too good and wants to start establishing a little bit of like, hey, now we can share a little bit, you and I, you know. This is going to be wow. Okay, so James, listen. If Toddy shoves here, Naza kind of has to go all in.
Oh my God, this is going to be a huge pot. This is going to be a huge pot. If Naza just calls, that might save him, because then you can imagine CPU ruler will re-raise to isolate.
Yeah,
he does just
that's
flat.
Exactly what we're seeing. Wow, great work from Naza here, not just shoving.
Either way, this is a horrible situation for Hello Totty, who is a huge underdog here and is likely to exit in 4th place. Nino Ullman with the decision. Time bank ticking down just for show.
And I just got to say, James, whatever happens, this is looking pretty good for the completely impartial, doesn't really matter at all draft that we did for Joe. Because Joe has CPU ruler.
He needs some good fortune. He needs something positive
Yeah,
to cling on to.
finally he runs good, and it's a thing that has no meaning
No value.
whatsoever. No value.
Meaning. I mean, there is the reshove, the fold. It's Hello Totty at risk. And a little bit of hope with that queen on the flop, but nothing on the turn or river. And we see the elimination of Hello Totty out in fourth for 75.5 grand. A new chip leader, and it is the player who started this final table with the shortest stack. It is CPU ruler. That is Nino Ullman playing from Austria, who's got more than 3 mil right now.
And plays this 10-9 aggressively in the first hand. But going to get 3-bet from Kelvin.
Three-handed play begins, still at the 17.5, 35k blind level, going up to 2040 in just under 15 minutes' time. And 8 suited against Queen Jack, and it's a Queen high flop.
I wouldn't be surprised if Kelvin just says, ugh, I don't care. Like, it's just the kind of board that, you know, your opponent's going to float so many kind of hands. If your opponent has as weak as Jack 9 with a 9 of diamonds is going to continue. Now with that turned action, as Naza very sneakily checks back the top pair, maybe we see Kelvin start to attack, maybe try to fold out those, you know, ace 7 offs without a diamond. And we do see with that equity, Kelvin does fire a little bet.
Vieira, 93% favorite, and Rivers trips.
Yeah, and because Kelvin, you know, Naza is so under-repped here, Kelvin might be interested in, now, wisely checks. You know, sometimes you're going to be up against some king highs with a diamond here on the river that you might be able to bluff out. But Kelvin a little too wise and lets it go.
Value bet from João Vieira. And Kelvin Kerber with just 10 high will fold. Those two pretty even in chips. Around 1.5, 1.6 million. Nino Ullman, the chip leader right now, with just over 3 million. And facing a raise in the big blind, has ace-7 offsuit. Defends with the Spraggy. And ace high still good on an 8 deuce-deuce board.
Yeah, with the best hand, with the ace high, expect to see ruler peel one off here. Kelvin gonna have some opportunities to improve though. Wow, just folds the ace-7 high. Little surprised by that.
Pair of 9s for João Vieira. Raganese asks, is there a possibility of a deal here or no? Technically, possible. All three players would have to agree. But whether there is any desire and whether it's probable that we'd see a deal, maybe not so much. I said earlier on, Griffin, that it's rare, but there have been a few high roller events we've streamed where players have chopped it. Don't know how these particular three would feel about breaking down the prize money. We're looking at just over 100 grand for third, nearly 150 for second, and more than 200 for the winner. As we get this little trappy limp here from Nazar.
Very
and
nice.
flops a set.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about the, big accomplishments and maybe some big egos sometimes in these potential deals in these high roller circles. But at the same time, this is a 64 player field. A lot of these players, are friends or acquaintances, really respect each other's games. So there are going to be some situations where, they'll just agree, even if they think maybe they might have a little edge or not, to just chop it up.
Full house now for Nazar, 35,000 into 83.5.
Yeah, and because this is so under-repped, and CPU Ruler is going to imagine that deuce of diamonds is going to be live sometimes, the ace is going to be live a lot of the time, so I really don't blame the call, and that's actually a really brilliant river for Naza, because it strengthens that ace high, two pair and the ace high. Naza could just have something like a bare diamond here. Could have 10-9 with a diamond.
Makes the call with ace high, a not unreasonable call. And Nazar up to 1.8 million. CPU drops below the 3 million mark and is now playing Jack 5 against Kelvin Kerber's Queen 10, blind v blind. A raise from Kelvin.
Yeah, you want to get calls from those weaker queens and tens. Definitely going to be some hands like that will check call, something like Queen 8 suited, but instead goes for the limp raise, really targeting hands like this that are going to be hard pressed to continue as a call and definitely don't want to shove. You're raising for value with this Queen 10 when you're limp 2, but then once it gets into that, 3-bet range, you're kind of thinking, oh boy, I don't know. But calls, brilliant. Ooh.
Interesting. I mean, I wonder if this slows down the action now they've actually connected in some way. Second pair for CPU, top pair for Kelvin.
Yeah, I mean, the reason Kelvin is willing to call and then create this stack to pot ratio of nearly 1-to-1 is because of the reality that CPU is going to have some bluff hands. It's not oftentimes you're going to raise and call a 3-bet with Queen 10 off, but because you're three-handed, because you're in position, because CPU is going to have these kind of bluff type hands, I don't think Kelvin has any reason to shove here. Maybe just keep the trap on, but might just think there's enough out there. Let's play for it all. Yeah.
Shoves the flop with top pair, gets the fold, and is now pretty much tied for the chip lead. Pretty even right now between Kelvin Kerber and Nino Ullman. Xiao Vieira not that far behind, starting this hand with 1.8 million. This could be a decent length three-handed battle.
Yeah, everyone well over 50 big blinds now.
Blinds going up in 6 minutes' time. No rotation. King high still ahead. We get the bet from Kelvin on the turn, which gets a fold from Nazar. CPU with ace-5 suited.
Ooh, sourdough suited. Which is artisanal.
9-7 completes. And the raise from CPU. Well, how does this play out? Jack 10 opens on the button, 6s in the small, King Queen in the big.
Yeah, 3 very strong 3-handed hands. Kelvin, a great opportunity to squeeze, but instead wants to stay under repped. You know, you'd hate to squeeze here and someone, let's just say CPU ruler, back shoves. That's not what you'd like to see.
Interestingly, 6s still the best hand. As Nazar bets 56,000 on the flop with Jack 10, gets the fold from 6s.
Yeah, you don't need to bet that big in this spot. I mean, you technically have the strongest range here. CPU ruler is pretty strong with the small blind flat, but a lot of those aces would have, you know, re-raised pre-flop. So great spot from Nazar to take it down.
And that's going to take us to the second break. So 4 players down from the start of the day, 3 remaining. CPU ruler, Kelvin, and Nazar 114. And not much separating them right now. 2.3 million for the chip leader, 2.2 million for Kelvin, and 1.9 million for Nazar. Play will resume inside of 5 minutes, and we will continue to play down to a champion in this 10K Super Tuesday High Roller. Let's bring Joe Stapleton back into the mix and let him know what he missed. The main thing being, Joe, that in addition to a couple of players going out, Griffin just created this ridiculous situation where we were going to draw horses effectively and have players that we were somehow affiliated with. By virtue of you not being there, you ended up with the shortest stack. Who is now the chip leader? So congratulations, Nino Ullman, CPU ruler is your player.
Yeah, I figured that since my player is now the chip leader, albeit barely, you guys are going to decide to just dissolve the competition.
I never realized that was an opportunity.
Yeah.
No, let's keep it going. It's just for fun. And as I said, it's not like we're going to make that influence anything we do or say. We will be objective in our coverage of this evening's final table and the 3-handed battle that will continue.
Go, Kelvin!
So, Mr. Benja, in the time between we saw you in Barcelona, I know, like me, you got sick in Spain. What have you been up to? What have you been doing?
Yeah, I went to my third Burning Man, and it was very hot and very exhausting, and I don't think I will ever go back.
As a middle-class Englishman in his mid-40s, can you explain to me, A, exactly what Burning Man is, and B, why anyone would want to go?
Well, there are these 10 principles that Burning Man has. It's all very much about, let's see if we can live in a society where we all pick up after each other and everything. There's no currency, and we feed each other, we give each other things, and that's just how we live for a week. It's a pop-up city in the desert. Every camp has sort of gifts, so you can walk in there, and one place will be a bar, and you just have free drinks. You don't pay. Another place you'll have free food. You know, you can go sit somewhere, do whatever you want. So it's kind of this like, and it's just this idea of like picking up after yourself. This thing called MOOP, matter out of place. So there's just no garbage anywhere. Everybody picks up after themselves. So it's kind of a cool like concept, and it's this very kind of hippy dippy way of but in a nice way. It's cool. It's a cool thing.
Joe,
James, if I could summarize, it's a place where very rich people spend tens of thousands of dollars to pretend to be poor and to live in a society in which they don't exist.
Okay.
It's a utopian paradise in which there is no money, but it costs many thousands of dollars to attend.
I love that central paradox / hypocrisy.
Yes.
I was going to say, Joe, you know me very well. I appreciate that Griffin was trying to do a bit of a sales job there, but I get the impression I would absolutely hate this.
I don't even like it. Like, this has my name all over it, right? Like, you go out to the desert, you kind of experiment with nature and with various levels of clothing. I believe where it takes place in Nevada, marijuana is legal, so that's obviously something that happens a lot out there. And you experiment with sort of free love and understanding, and I don't want any part of it, so I can't imagine James. Like, I find it difficult that you could even sit and listen to something this long about it.
I'm just thinking, I think I made the right decision to stay home and watch Selling the OC, which, by the way, was only 8 episodes long. Come on, Netflix. We need a season 2 fast. I need to eat. I'm going to take a break, so I'm going to leave you with Mr. Stapleton and Mr. Benger as this 3-way battle continues.
Some threads up poker here on Super Tuesday. The high roller, 10K buy-in. Down to the final 3 players. Everyone guaranteed $100,000 now. Griffin, as much as I am not a fan of Burning Man, I'm sad to hear that it was a bit of an arduous experience for you. I would have preferred you had a good time.
Yeah, it was just, I appreciate that, but yeah, it can be kind of tough out there. I mean, there's just sand everywhere, all over your things, all the time, and it was just really hot this year. It's getting hotter and hotter every year. Even at night, it was hot. Like a lot of the costumes that you're going to be wearing in this like Technicolor, dream space didn't even really get to wear because there were like jackets and the things like that. It was just too hot. So I don't know why, but the planet feels like it's getting warmer.
Must be a coincidence.
Yeah.
Naza versus Kelvin to this flop. Top-ish pair for Kelvin. The best pair, we'll call it. 1 spade for Naza. Both with backdoor flush draws.
Route 711 says, I hate sand. It's coarse and rough and gets everywhere.
That is correct. I'm not a sand fan myself. Pair of 5s on the turn for Naza. Not good enough to run down these jacks. Greater Good says Joe's girlfriend ditched him. Free love. No, my girlfriend really wants to go to Burning Man. Go back to Burning Man, I should say. I think she's been twice. I told her, have a good time. I'll play Elden Ring for a week straight.
Have you started Elden Ring yet, or that's the game you would play if she ever disappeared?
That's what I would play if she ever disappeared. I haven't played it yet.
I wonder if Joe actually got that reference too, Salt Pastilian. The sand one.
What, the sand reference?
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think the fact that you're saying, what do you think, that you got it, but you didn't act like you really got it, so it was unclear, but now I think you got it, yeah.
I know it's a reference, but I cannot recall what it's from. If I'm
oh, okay. It's from the prequels, probably episode 2. When he's talking
hello there.
He's talking to Natalie Portman, and he's like, Anakin's like, I hate sand. It's coarse and rough.
I see.
And gets everywhere. It's like a meme.
CPU in a bit of trouble here with a pair.
Yeah.
And some fun. Whoa!
What?
Just folds a pair. Who does that?
That's pretty
does
cool.
that?
I mean, it's ridiculous, but it's pretty cool. I don't know. Don't limp call Jack 9 off if you're just going to fold the mid pair, I say. But might also understand that its opponent is not going to be willing to be betting these big amounts on that board with like ace queen, But still, you can improve and what if your opponent just has king queen and you turn a 9? I don't know.
What is going on with Ambin White here in chat? It's a meme, but he's actually being serious. He hates where he came from and what sand actually represents. Cool.
All right, buddy. Yeah. Why don't you go watch some Clone Wars?
Pair of 6s runs down Naza on the turn.
Why don't you go read some Star Wars Legends novels? Naza gets unlucky here.
It's not difficult to get unlucky with pocket 3s. Ammon says, I love Clone Wars. Joke's on you.
I know you did because of your comment. I'm just teasing you. I've heard great things about Clone Wars, actually. I've watched some supercuts of some fight scenes before. Just who has the time, right? Other than you, nerd.
I just don't have time for cartoons.
Dude, how cool is this value bet here from Kelvin? Does not get
Pretty
a call,
cool, doesn't
but
get
correctly
called.
value bets fourth pair.
Yeah. I heard very good things about this cartoon called The Mitchells versus the Machines. It was like nominated for an Academy Award and stuff. What are people watching? Oh boy. Back to the Mitchells versus the Machines.
It's definitely not your kind of movie at all. It's way too like I don't
corny,
know, goofy,
doesn't make any sense.
And what's the generation that millennial? No, what's the one after that? Gen Z.
Zoomers?
To Gen Z. Zoomers, yeah. Wait, what year are the Zoomers? Is that different from the Gen Z?
I don't know.
As NASA folds the Spraggy. As NASA folds the Spraggy. Yeah. Phew.
All right, blinds up. 20,000, 40,000.
What about the Maya He scene? Come on, Joe. Maya.
Hated that.
Family. Love. Redemption.
Yep, all of a sudden, the mom is just a ninja at the end. When she gets real mad, she can just, like, it doesn't even stick to its own rules. Just awful. Just a really boring movie.
Okay, without talking about any spoilers, since I've only watched the first episode, how are you feeling about House of Dragons?
I went over this yesterday, but I'll do it again briefly. As I watched an incredibly violent scene, like within the first 10 minutes of that show, I was like, did I really miss this? Did I really miss having gut-wrenching, stomach-churning violence and really awful, just horrific scenes? I'm like, I'm not sure I missed this. I'm not really sure I need to go back to this. So I've only watched the first episode.
Yeah. Well,
Aces for NASA.
Apparently the third episode is the highest rated Game of Thrones episode ever. If you combine all the 8 seasons, it's like a 9.9 on IMDb. So I will be continuing watching and seeing what makes that one so good. Hopefully more blood.
CPU calling with king high on the turn. NASA facing a double paired board now.
Yeah, I don't blame CP Ruler. Oh, wow. Okay, so this is interesting because when you're comprising CPU Ruler's range there, it's going to be more likely to be straight draws than king highs. So NASA didn't go for value because it's going to be a 10 or a jack sometimes too, which are boats. And then it's going to be those 9-8, 8-7, 9-7 type hands that might bluff. So that's why NASA decides to check.
Doesn't get the bluff, but does win the pot.
And been white. I watched the first episode of Rings of Power, and I thought it was really great.
You can't judge any of these shows based on the first episode because they all come out of the gate swinging hard. Swinging real hard.
But that's maybe why you should judge it off the first episode, because they're showing you the...
No, because then the next 4 episodes are usually a total snooze. Like, what was that one? The Wheel of Destiny?
Wheel of Time had an amazing pilot, and then the rest of it was kind of fell apart, yeah.
The Wheel of Fortune came up bankrupt on that one.
It was a great pilot, though, the Wheel of Time. And there was some good... Jeanne and I, my girlfriend and I really liked the first most of episodes of Wheel of Time, but then it fell apart at the end.
Now, I do have somewhat high hopes for the Rings of Power because they spent $1 billion on it. So maybe there's not going to be 8 episodes of them walking. Gets a call from King High.
Wow.
CPU Ruler takes a slight chip lead. Slight chip lead with that pot.
So have you watched the Rings of Power or no?
I have not watched Ring of Power yet. I haven't watched Miss Marvel or She-Hulk. I'm a little behind on those. I just I'm almost done with We Own This City. That's the last thing we just started. We got a couple episodes of We Own This City left.
Is that good?
King high from CPU betting here. Ace, Jack, 9 on the flop. What's that, Griffin? Sorry.
Is We Own the City any good?
Love it. Really great.
That's John Bernthal, right?
John Bernthal and David Simon. It's it's kind of like an unofficial sequel to The Wire. Baltimore crime.
Ooh, and a nice little check raise here from Naza, who has some backdoor outs with those backdoor outs of the 10-3 of spades. Really tricky, nice little hand.
King 4 suited for Kelvin. Gets a
All
fold.
diamonds.
Naza with the 4.
I want blood.
Griffin does
Oh my
not
gosh.
believe in blockers when it's convenient for him. Pair of 4s and the costly second nut flush draw for Kelvin.
Jean, can you bring Kiki in here? Kiki just came in from outside. I feel like Kiki's going to bring the diamond.
Well, Naza folded a diamond. There's 7 diamonds out. Only 6 left in the deck. Blockers being real and all.
Jean, I need
Means that we're
Kiki.
not going to see.
It's for work.
We're not going to see a diamond. Queen of spades on the turn. Pair of 4 still good for Kelvin.
Okay. Oh, baby, come on, baby. You got to invoke the diamond. Invoke the diamond. Let's get a cooler for an
Oh my
elimination.
God! How about invoke
It's gonna
scratching
be
Griffin in the
such a
face
big-
and living your life?
Cat jam. Do 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 do.
And Kelvin
Gonna get a diamond.
is going to take a stab after being checked to.
It's almost done. Don't worry. Poor Kiki. Diamond! Oh, what did
And
I
it
say?
is a diamond
I
on the
told you
river.
I was gonna bring a diamond. Oh, diamond dance, diamond dance. Okay, thank you, baby.
Kelvin not running hot.
The
A
diamond
cold
dance,
deck for a hot
diamond dance.
temperature. $787,000 in the middle. It's been checked to Kelvin. Somehow CPU knows. Kelvin likely to bet at this.
Yep, it's all going in.
Not all of it, just a pot. Obviously, CPU will be raising.
Yeah, this is just... I mean, what do you even do? What do you say? You can't say anything. This is just the ultimate cooler. You know, you could argue that your opponent would just call here with a 10 high flush facing a pot-sized bet.
There's the
but-
shove from CPU. Can you ever fold this, Griffin? Can you fold? Nope, I guess you cannot. Second
Nah.
nut flush loses to the nut flush. And Kelvin is all in the big blind. And Naza's got kings. Naza here to pick up the dead once again.
And yeah, limping as we saw the 8-9 did when we were 4 or 5 handed there. So, you know, really wanting to maybe bring in CP rulers with the raise, but doesn't happen.
2 4s for Rulor. Jess Alice J says, what I'm learning is never, ever bet your king high flushes ever, ever. Just too risky. I agreed. You got to just check it back there. Top set now for Naza.
Sid Hoffman says, bring cat to table if diamond is needed. We have a new trend here at PokerStars.
Naza bets. Kelvin already drawing dead, and that will do it. We are now heads up. Kelvin eliminated in third place for $104,000. Naza versus CPU for the title and about 60 grand, 55 grand indifference between first and second. Naza raising ace-king in the first hand, a heads up. Got to read this comment from Sam Anstead, who ends it with the smacking my head emoji, which really frustrates me, like makes me beyond angry. Angrier than it rationally should.
Oh,
Says,
really?
Don't
Okay.
judge a show by its first episode, yet 1 minute earlier judges the new GOT show he judged from the first 10 minutes. Naza wins it with some pre-flop aggression after a misstep there from CPU. Sam, let me talk to you for a second.
I
Do you
can't
think I'm
believe you did
judging that
Jeff.
show from the first 10 minutes or maybe from the 90 hours of Game of Thrones I've already watched? Do you think maybe that has something to do with it?
Good point. Making a good point.
Do you think that maybe it's not the first 10? And also,
Joe, hey,
I was saying don't judge a show as being good based
Hey.
on the first episode, not based on being bad.
Joe,
don't
hey,
know if you
Joe.
could've-
Hey, sun's getting
Yeah.
real low. Hey, come on. Shh. Hey, come on, Joe. Sun's getting real low. Low
I just don't-
tide. Bring it in, buddy. Yep, it's okay.
Maybe I should have gone to Burning Man and just, chilled out for a while. I don't know that you could have misunderstood what I said anymore, Sam. You banned.
CP Bueller at the advantage.
Yeah, Naza with the officially a 0 equity hand. Dead on the turn. No backdoors.
Yes. The CPU has me calling on the flop and again on the turn. I have made my calculations with my ruler. Call once again.
Naza, who took down the first bunch of hands heads up, is running into it here. Finally, maybe we'll check back. I do like the CPU bet. You can do that as much as you want.
He thinks I will maybe fold a king, but I am under-repped with my ace. I call.
I mean, this is going to be a pretty sizable nail in the coffin for Naza. And it is. CPU up to almost 5 million. Naza down to 1.5. What's that? Under 40 bigs at this point?
Hey, Battle Knight 1381, who asks if a guy with a pair of aces folds, I'm leaving. Is that like a Battle Net pun, or it's just you went with Battle Knight? That's your name. I'm just curious.
Good question.
That's fair, right?
Naza ahead here on this hand with Queen High.
Buggy22 says, oh, so that's what Griffin uses at BM for currency, the robot voice. There is no currency at Burning Man. That's the thing that's so beautiful about it.
The Playa provides.
Yeah.
We've got an ace on ace here. Naza opening. CPU with the dominating and suited ace.
And, hand range has really increased, Joe, as we get shorter and shorter handed. And as we can see, Naza prepared to call with the Spraggy, not something you would normally want to do for a 4x 3-bet. But we saw CPU Ruler in the first hand of this heads up 3-bet Queen Deuce off. So what makes us think that he isn't willing to do that again? Super fake HS says it's always coming 7 as Naza floats.
Does not improve.
And this hand may turn into an opportunity. If Naza is willing to float on the flop, you're going to have to be willing to make some bets. You know, your ace high is not going to be good. Ace 7 off here. But damn, you would hate to just bet into the top of the range as the...
Ooh. 4 clubs on board.
Yeah, and I think
Prime
this becomes a who bets
opportunity.
first. Who bets
Yeah.
first situation. And I think it might be hard for CPU to pull the trigger. Nah.
Naza.
Naza, you better do it.
Only one way to win this pot. Muscle.
Yeah.
There it is. 6-2-4. Snap fold.
Nice pot. Nice
Put
hand.
one down for old Naza.
Oh, have
My
you met
pal Jay
Na
Flats is in the chat.
and her sister Za? Naza.
My pal Jay Flats in the chat on YouTube. What's up, buddy boy? Nice to see you.
Buddy bee.
Naza clawing back up to almost 2 million. Another ace. Limps in. Does not get the pre-flop action he is looking for. Or maybe your check back is what he's looking for. What do I know?
In case you're unfamiliar with the Portuguese-born Naza, 6 WCOOP titles. 6. That is how accomplished this man is. And despite this 2-1 chip deficit to CPU ruler, proves he's got a lot of moves up his sleeve. Beautiful hand with that ace 7.
It's actually about to be 7. If Naza can take this down.
Yep. And correctly calling with the ace high here.
Ace high good.
Do it, Naza.
And CPU trying to steal this one. Playing the board. I feel like ace high is a pretty easy look up here, but what do I know?
CPU is effectively representing an 8 here. Naza, 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 Naza. If you all whisper chant Naza, he will make the call. Naza, Naza, Naza. I can hear all your voices, your collective voices. 1,600 voices all whispering at once. Naza, 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 Naza.
We'll call it a hero call. Naza picks off the bluff with ace high and is now up to 2.5 million and gets out flopped on the very next hand. Back to Sam, who says, Joe, whoops, outturned. Naza back on top. Joe, your argument would make sense if you weren't talking about not judging a Lord of the Rings show from the first episode. Okay, let me repeat this. People saying the Lord of the Rings show is good. All the first episodes are good. Of lots of shows, it's the first episode. They're trying to reel you in. Oftentimes, it becomes really daunting to watch after that. Secondly, there aren't 90 hours of Lords of the Rings episodes to judge this on. It's one episode of one TV show. So to say it's good or bad based on one doesn't really make any sense.
This
Thank
is
you
a
for your
great
comments.
chance here, Joe, for Naza to
Your rebound.
get
Yeah,
back in
to
this
the poker.
thing.
Thank you.
Yeah, gonna be... Oh, nice fold from CPU Ruler. He was a believer. We've seen some big folds from CPU Ruler, mostly correct, too.
Yeah, both these guys playing very well. Heads up.
Oh, Naza thinking about keeping that momentum and not folding this hand. So makes a loose-ish defend with 5-3 off, but gets nothing. Nada. Nada. He gets Naza on the flop. Naza.
Checks all the way down to the river, which pairs the board. King high will be the best hand if we get to showdown. And we do get to showdown, so CPU picks up another one. CPU with ace jack here, facing a raise from Naza.
300,000.
3 betting hand.
320.
Close enough to 300,000.
You got to watch the offer, Joe. That's what you got to watch.
I did watch the offer months ago.
Oh,
I
you did?
recommended it
Nice.
to you. But
Months
thanks for-
ago. It's only been
thanks
out
for
for a
the,
month, I think.
Thanks for giving my recommendation back to me.
Yeah, I'm like 7 or 8 episodes in. It's so good.
Gonna bet here from 10 high, which does have a draw. Live pairs as well. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Is that a straight 4, 5, 6, 7, 8? Okay, so 5 is a straight also now.
Yeah, advantage ruler here, although Naza may want to continue with that little baby gata and the king high, but it's tough. Because, 5 hits, you might not even be good. Your king might not be live. Ooh, ace on ace crime again. We saw the ace 10 and ace 7 play to a very interesting conclusion with Naza making that ace 7 bluff on the river. So if Naza was prepared to call the 3-bet with ace 7, you might think that he's willing to play ace 5, which actually technically plays much better post-flop with that wheel potential, and instead plays it as a 4-bet. And CP Bueller will not be folding this hand. We see this hand go to the felt so often. Players willing to 4-bet, sometimes even 5-bet all in, but plays it as a call. Wow. Big pot.
Yeah, 1.3 million in the middle, bigger than most of the river pots we've seen at heads up.
Yeah, and I hope you have that Evans
Naza.
Stevens button ready, because if we see a bet here from Naza, that's where we'll be.
Not a very big bet. This is
Yeah, but not even a spade
like
to
an
speak
eighth of
of
the
for
pot.
ruler.
1/7 pot.
Just make it 500. It'd be so cool. Ooh.
And just a click back, really.
Oh,
400,000.
Naza. What is Naza going to do? Does Naza have another gear? Floats with the ace deuce. Ace 5. This is poker.
Floats the ace 5. Is the best hand. Some major opportunities here.
Oh my goodness. Okay. 260,000. What's this? Maybe even more. Maybe even like 3 something. Oh my
So the board
gosh.
pairs. If there's a showdown, this will be a chop pot. And that feels pretty likely. It feels pretty likely each of these guys could want to get to showdown with ace high. Another situation where he who bets wins, Rodney. All in. All in from CPU. Rabid Lampshade on YouTube says, jam that jam, and they are right.
I bet you didn't see that coming, Naza.
Naza folds, and CPU is up over 5 million. Now we've got an ace 5 on ace 5 situation. Little sourdough suited,
Ooh, sourdough suited.
artisanal
Which is
versus
artisanal.
store brand.
If the deuce of diamonds comes, I will be bringing out Kiki.
At 5 on the turn. Does hit both
Ooh.
players, obviously.
Joe's Jumbo Jambalaya jammed. Justice.
Naza bets the 5. CPU calls with the 5. This hand ends in a chop, and you know what they say?
Everyone loves a chop pot. Oh my God, we did
Top
it.
pair for
We did it.
Naza.
We broke the internet. Move over, Kim Kardashian.
CPU with the gut shot. I'm just like playing it cool here.
Yeah.
Playing it cool with that one.
Sorry, James, your services will no longer be needed. Ooh, double gutter for CPU ruler. Trying to. Oh, the second
8,
nata
9, 10,
bata.
That is a straight, man.
Oof.
This is all coming
Man.
up CPU.
Man, why you gotta do me like that, man?
Outdrawing Naza, outplaying Naza. Raganisi
And-
says this could be over here.
Well, disagree. Naza has a bit too many chips for this to be over, but it's really... Oh, but it plays as a shove. Oh my gosh, I may owe an apology to Ragoni CTV on Twitch saying this could be over because CPU ruler playing this as a shove, targeting those river jacks or those 10s, but it is folded. Naza wise to it.
Naza gets away. Two clubs on the flop. Naza with 2 clubs in his hand. Technically the favorite, though behind. Nope, it's a flush now. CPU can still make a bigger flush.
Flushing New York. And the overbet. We've seen some pretty tight folds from CPU ruler. I think this might qualify as another one. I mean, you're facing a, what, 2.3, 2.4x bet, but calls it, gets there. Oh, man.
CPU has some magical abilities, it seems, to conjure the best hand while their opponent makes a very costly second best hand. Naza
And the,
really getting beaten up here.
and we might just see a shove again. I think Naza is going to be a bit too high up in his range, even though Naza will recognize, yeah, and just 300, that's going to be a call. Naza, you're in trouble, pal. We love you, but number 7 might have to wait another day as 10 big blinds. Queen Jack will be going in, and we're going to be off to the races.
We aren't quite flipping. Ace high is holding.
Dodge the queen,
Naza
dodge the
needs a
jack.
queen or a jack. Doesn't get either one. Ace high holds. That's going to do it for today's Super Tuesday 10K high roller. Old Naza, who's taken down a fair few WCOOPs in his day. 6 to be exact. Comes up just short for number 7. This title goes to CPU Rulor, taking home over $200,000. Let's welcome James Hardigan back to take us home.
Yeah, no 7th title for João Vieira, but that is 2 in 2 years for Nino Ullmann. We referenced earlier on that the Austrian player won a 2K last year, now takes down this 10K for more than 200 grand. Fun, and you predicted it at the start of the day, Joe, relatively swift final table, but still some really good play, some really interesting hands to analyze, and of course there'll be more on the agenda next week. Let's very quickly run through what's coming up. We've got 3 World Championship events in a row. The World Championship 6 Max on Monday. Maria will join us for that one. The World Championship of PLO 8 with special guest analyst Mason Pye on Tuesday. And Griffin, you are back on Wednesday for the World Championship of Heads Up No Limit Hold'em. Should be a good one.
Very, very exciting. James, I want to ask, did you happen to catch our Chop Pot song? Joe and
Yeah,
I
I'd give it a 9.99. I still feel the hamminess factor, Griffin, was a little bit on the high scale, but, you know, I'll concede.
You still thought it was
solid.
You still thought it was too hammy?
John Delano and I were talking, and we just feel that your hamminess just needs to be dialed down.
James,
Joe, 3...
Everyone loves a pork chop.
Thank God this broadcast is over. Can we find someone else for next Wednesday? Griffin, we will see you at the back end of next week. And Joseph, I will see you on Monday when we will be joined by Maria, and we will have that 6 Max Championship event.
Looking forward to it.
Until then, thank you for watching our first 3 days of WCOOP coverage. More to come next week. Remember, the final table replays start next week. They are Twitch exclusive in the hours leading up to the live streams, which are always on air at the same time every day, 6 p.m. UK, 7 p.m. Central Europe. For now, from Griffin Benja, Joe Stapleton, and me, James Hartigan, it's good night from the PokerStars Arena.